This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi.
Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Yeah, this a revolution in our time. Everybody's fighting, change coming, yes. That's why it's an acronym for riot. Everybody has a voice. Don't you dare stay silent. If you say nothing, you are an accessory to violence.
They've had their say. Seems like they've had that kind of say around here for too long. Look, I had to stand up for myself alone. I went in there to remind them that somewhere in this world there's still a little law and order left. To let them know in the only kind of terms that their kind understand is that they can't bribe or threaten their way out of what they did. To let them do this to me and get away with it, and you give them the eternal right to do the same damn thing to any one of you.
Access 228, your host, Anthony Oksenholt, where we report the facts and we are not for sale. If you have a news story or something that's on your mind, please feel free to give us a call at 228-337-2099. Be glad to have you on. Thank you for listening, and we do appreciate all that you do to support us and keep free and independent journalism doing what we do best. All right, y'all. Guess I ain't got nothing better to do up here except make videos, so here we go. Still up here in Chirac, Chicago, Joliet, whatever you want to call it. I guess, actually, this is Joliet. This ain't really Chicago, but anyway. So, I want to talk about a conflict of interest. Specifically, the same conflict of interest that Yuri and Jared are alleging in their lawsuits about why municipal court judges in Mississippi can't take their case. You know, the Biloxi municipal court judges, and I want to point something out to y'all. I know I have at least one municipal court judge from the city of Biloxi that's liked my page. I'm not going to call that person out. And I want that person to know that everything I say is with the deepest and highest of respect. But there is a thing called judicial immunity. That means you cannot sue a judge for what they do in their jurisdiction, on their bench, in their court. Now, conflict of interest, the only conflict of interest I would see is if there was a financial interest based on these lawsuits. That's the only thing I find. Judges are getting sued by these two dumbasses. And on the face of it, looking at the conflict of interest, it would seem that they would have a financial interest in judging the case, however. But let's throw in judicial immunity here. Judicial immunity would seem to negate that financial interest, since they cannot be sued based on what they do in their own courtroom. So, if you cannot sue a judge for a decision they make in their own courtroom, how then can they have a monetary interest in your case? Because you're suing them, calling it a conflict of interest. I would argue that they can't. Because if all I had to do to get out of trouble was to sue every judge handling my case, criminal case, and I am breaking the law as they are, the stop work order, having people work on his house, specifically talking about Uri here. If all I had to do was sue the judge and I don't have to worry about paying for my crime, I could go commit mass murder. And as long as I could bond out and I'm on the street, there's nothing that they could do about it. Hold it off for 3 years and even the bail bond expires. Then if I really wanted to be a person that was an asshole, I could say, well, you know, you violated my Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. Basically, I could use this model to do exactly whatever I want to and render the courts useless, render the justice system useless in this country. This is the kind of precedent that this is really setting. Now, I know I'm not talking about mass murder when I'm talking about these two idiots. I'm talking about misdemeanor crimes. But let's assume mass murder. Let's assume that I was going to go out here and shoot somebody just because they pissed me off or whatever. And then I get charged and I go before justice court, get bound over for grand jury. Then it goes to circuit court. I get my bond set. I bond out. And then I'll go ahead and I sue the justice court judge and all circuit court judges in Harrison County. Does this mean that my trial is going to be delayed? Does this mean that they have to pull somebody from another circuit, which they can certainly do? What if I decide to just go ahead and just do a shotgun lawsuit like what they're doing and sue every circuit court judge in Mississippi? No, let's go further. Let's say I sue every judge in the state of Mississippi, municipal, justice, chancery, just for the hell of it, circuit court, appellate court, Supreme Court, all the way up. And let's assume I sue every prosecutor in the state of Mississippi, all the way up to the Mississippi Attorney General. I'm out on bond and I'm suing all these people, but yet I'm following every other condition of my bond. Would I then get away with the murder? Now, I know this is an extreme case and nobody's ever done it to my knowledge, but that's what we're opening this up to. I say municipal courts step up and say, you know what? We're not going to allow this to fly. You broke the law. You're continuing to break the law. You're continuing to violate a stop work order. You're continuing to do whatever you're doing. You have been proven to have broken the law even further with the conditions of your bond. We're going to revoke your bond, put you back in jail, hold you in contempt of court for what you have done, violating your bond conditions. The audio's on this website, y'all. It ain't hard to find. And we're going to hold you accountable and hold your feet to the fire. Otherwise, I think this is a dangerous precedent being set. Because every other idiot who's watching this case, who wants to do something to get away with whatever their crime is in the city is going to use the roadmap that this case has laid out for them to do the exact same thing. For a mere $405 filing fee down at the federal courthouse in Gulfport. And it's going to take at least a year before the federal court does anything. Federal courts move very slowly. I'm sure y'all know this by now. So at what point do we say enough is enough? I say the time is now. Y'all comment below and let me know. Also, again, the law is still being broken. The stop work order is still being violated. I've seen that with my own eyes, and I'll be willing to testify about it in open court. I'd be willing to be deposed for it, on the record, under oath. I'm also willing to certify that my recordings are valid, legal, and I'm willing to surrender my recording device to whatever investigatory agency wants it, as long as it is tagged in evidence. Again, I know how to preserve evidence. I haven't deleted it off the device for that reason, that I know how to preserve evidence. Just my thoughts, y'all. Y'all think about it. Y'all let me know.